Hey guys, in this video I'll be showing you how to solve a 2x2 Rubik's Cube. So in order to solve our 2x2 Rubik's Cube, we will first need to know the 5 basic moves required to solve any cube in the world. So these 5 moves are the right hand side, the left hand side, the upside, the downside and the front face. So they go a little like this, that when you turn the right hand side, if you turn the right hand side once in a clockwise direction, it is called R. So this is R when you turn it in clockwise direction, and when you turn it in an anti-clockwise direction, it is called R prime. So this is R and this is R prime. And whenever you turn the cube, whenever you turn a face, in this case the right hand side, 2 times, so that is called R2. So when you turn it 1, 2, that is R2. And so this is R, this is R prime, and this is R2, R2. So now the same thing for the left hand side. When you turn it clockwise like this, that is L. So the left hand side clockwise is L, and when you turn it anti-clockwise, it's L prime. And exactly like the right hand side, when you turn the left hand side twice, that is called L2. So this is L2. So L, L prime and L2. And exactly the same with the top face. When you turn it once in the clockwise direction, that is a U-turn. So this is U, and when you turn it anti-clockwise, it is U prime. And again when you turn it 2 times like this, that is called U2. So this is a U2. So U, U prime and a U2. And then the exact same with the down face. This is D. When you turn it clockwise, it is called D. When you turn it anti-clockwise, it is called D prime. And then when you turn it twice like this, that is called a D2. So this is a D2. So D, D prime and D2. And then moving on to the last and final, the front face. So when you turn it clockwise, that is of course F. When you turn it anti-clockwise, it's F prime. And then finally when you turn it twice like that, that is F2. So this is F, anti-clockwise is F prime, and when you turn it twice, that's F2. So now that we know our 5 basic moves of this 2x2 and any cube in general, now we will learn how to solve it. So in order to solve this 2x2 Rubik's Cube, the first step is to solve the white face and also the first entire layer along with it. So what we'll be doing is we're going to take one white corner piece, in this case the blue, red and white corner piece, and then we're going to build the other 3 corner pieces around it. So first let's move on to this corner piece as it's right alongside this. So this would be the blue, white and the orange corner piece as it's opposite to red. So first we'll have to find it. It's right over here. So next what we do, this corner piece is supposed to go there. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this corner piece under where the position where it's supposed to go. So now this is supposed to go there. It's right under its actual position. So now what we do to move this into its actual position is to execute our first algorithm, which is a 4 mover, and it goes like this: R prime, D prime, R, D. So that is our first algorithm. So as you can clearly see, it hasn't moved in the, it's now in the correct position, but it's not in the correct orientation. So what we do is we repeat the algorithm until it's correct. So R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D. And now as you can clearly see, the corner piece is in the correct position and also in the correct orientation alongside the blue, red and white corner piece. So we have the white bar, the blue bar and the orange opposite to the red. So now we can turn this cube around and move on to this corner piece, which would be the orange, white and green corner piece as it's opposite to the blue side. So we can find it, and it's already over here. It's already under the position where it's supposed to go, so we don't have to move the bottom layer around. So now that it's already under it, we can go ahead and execute our algorithm: R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, or D, R prime, D prime, or D. And after executing 3 times, we can now see that the corner piece is positioned in the correct position and in the correct orientation. And now we can move on to the last and final corner piece, which would be the red, green, and white corner piece. So we first find it, it's right here. So once again, this is supposed to go there, so we move it right below where it's supposed to go, which is here. So we move it over there. Now it's supposed right under the actual position, and once again we execute the algorithm. R prime, D prime, or D, R prime, D prime, or D, R prime, D prime, or D. And now that we executed the algorithm, this corner piece is back to its actual original position, and with that we have fully completed not only the full white face but also the entire first layer. So the basic concept of this is not only to orient the corner pieces correctly to finish the white face, but also to place the corner pieces in the right position so that we have completed the entire first layer. Now what we'll do is we'll move on to the second layer and the last one, which is the yellow face and this entire layer. So this will be divided into 2 steps. For the white face, we've solved the entire white face and the first layer at the same time. For this, the yellow face will be solving the entire yellow face first, and then we'll move on to the entire last layer as a whole. So to solve this, once again, we will be using our first algorithm, which is R prime, D prime, or D. So what we'll be doing is, no matter what position all these corner pieces are in, even this solved one, it can be unsolved or anything. What we'll do, we'll take any random position, and if you have a solved one, always keep it on your left hand side. If you don't have a solved one, you can hold it in any position you want, and you execute the algorithm R prime, D prime, or D, R prime, D prime, or D, R prime, D prime, or D, R prime, D prime, or D. So now that we executed 4 times, we can see that this corner piece is in the correct orientation in respect to the other yellow pieces. But we can also see that the yellow face and the first layer is completely distorted and completely unsolved. But for now, you do not have to worry, as that doesn't matter for now. We can just move on to the next corner piece. So what we do is one upturn. We do not move or harm the down face. We just leave it as it is. Only the top face we move with one upturn, and we do the same R prime, D prime, R D algorithm for the next corner piece. So R prime, D prime, R D, R prime, D prime, R D, R prime, D prime, R D, R prime, D prime, R D. So now this corner piece once again is back to its current orientation. As you can clearly see, the first layer is still distorted, but as I said, do not worry about that. We can just do one more upturn and move on to the last corner piece and do the same thing. R prime, D prime, or D, R prime, D prime, or D, R prime, D prime, or D, R prime, D prime, or D. So now that we've done that, we have solved the full yellow face. And if you look under the cube, the full white face and the first layer is back to its solved state. So as I said, we do not have to worry. The white face and the first layer will automatically come back as long as you execute this properly. So similar to the first layer and the white face, we just keep executing and repeating the algorithm until the corner piece is in the correct position and orientation. So now that we've solved the entire yellow face, we will either have a bar like this, 2 green corner pieces next to each other, or we will have no bar like this. So these are opposite colors, opposite colors, opposite colors, and opposite colors. So we don't have a single bar. So first we will learn what to do if we have a bar. So we have our orange bar here. So first what we'll do is we'll move this bar. We'll move the orange bar towards the orange face from the first layer and the white face. So we have our orange side completely solved. Now what we'll do is we'll take our bar and put it to our left hand side. So our bar is now over here, and now we will execute and learn the second algorithm of this video, which goes like this: R, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R2, U prime, R prime, U prime, R U R prime F prime. So once we've executed that algorithm, these two corners have been swapped, and now that we've swapped the only two unsolved corners, the entire cube has been solved. So once again we'll do that algorithm: R U R prime U prime, R prime F R2 U prime R prime U prime R U R prime U prime. And with that, the entire cube is solved. So now you could get the case where you do not have a bar. So if you don't have a bar, all you need to do is to execute the same second algorithm twice. So when you execute it first on any certain direction, you don't have to hold the cube in any specific way. Just on any direction executed: R U R prime U prime R prime F R2 U prime R prime U prime R U R prime F prime. Now we will see that on our right hand side we have a bar. So now once again we move this bar. It's the orange bar, so we move to the orange face, and once again keep the bar on the left hand side, and we execute the algorithm again: R U R prime U prime R prime F R2 R U prime R prime U prime R U R prime F prime. And with that, we have our entire 2x2 solved. So guys, that was the video about how to solve a 2x2 Rubik's Cube. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned how to solve this 2x2 Rubik's Cube. If you did find the video helpful, do consider hitting the like button and subscribing. And with that, I'll be ending the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.